This is the Glasgow Museum of Transport in Kelvinside, and it's the home of several stars of Scottish locomotive history, and this engine is certainly a star. Caledonian number 123 was built by Nielsen's in 1886 to feature in the Edinburgh exhibition. It afterwards became one of the leading performers in the 1888 race from London to Edinburgh, when it hauled 4 coaches from Carlisle to Edinburgh Princess Street station in record time. So what made this engine such a remarkable performer? Its design was overall attributed to Dougal Drummond. However, both William Weir, the chief draftsman of the Caledonian Railway, and Snowball, the chief draftsman of Nielsen's, were believed to have had a hand in the design. It had a 7-foot driving wheel, and yet with that single driving wheel and an axle load of only 17 tonnes, was able to haul its train up the 10 miles to Beatock Summit on the long haul to Cobinshaw without problems.
In 1957, James Ness, the Scottish Region General Manager, arranged for number 123 to be returned to traffic for special duties, which she performed with distinction. At Easter 1963, in very cold weather, number 123 undertook an excursion using 2 Caledonian coaches. Here she departs Bridge of Allen for Callander. Callander Station may look familiar. It featured in the Dr. Finlay TV series of the time as Tannock Brae. The arrival allows us to appreciate the engraved thistles in the buffer faces. The pride that the restoration of number 123 engendered can clearly be seen as the driver lovingly polishes the lubricator bodies. The locomotive also has some very young admirers. With a tenderful of very evenly sized coal, number 123 had an excellent head of steam for the grueling climb ahead to Glenogle Head Crossing, 941 feet above sea level. Never mind the 1 in 60 gradients being unsuitable for singles, by now the weather was hardly conducive for adhesion either, and a blizzard was threatening. But Caledonian engines were used to adverse conditions. By Lewib, the climb was conquered. Number 123 makes a stunning spectacle coasting into the station loop. Now, on much easier grades, she heads along Glen Dochart in the teeth of an Arctic gale. The locomotive's arrival at Crianlarich Lower Junction shows the link with the West Highland Line. Number 123 toured extensively in lowland Scotland as well, the true heartland of the Caledonian, where its wanderings could be set against a rural or coalfield backdrop. These parallel running sequences illustrate just how slowly the 7-foot driving wheel turns, even at speed. These sequences recall number 123's record-breaking racing run in 1888, when she flew over Beattock Summit from Carlisle to Edinburgh at 58.8 miles per hour. Number 123 looked good from any angle. She made trips into former North British territory, making a strong contrast to A4 number 6009 Union of South Africa as she moves off Shed to take on yet another special. This time she's coupled to another Scottish veteran, ex-Great North of Scotland Railway 440, Gordon Highlander. Both show Scottish engineering style at its best. The proximity of the two engines illustrates just how big number 123 is for a single. She was now in demand even in England. Number 123's fame spread further when she joined City of Truro on its home ground at Bristol. 15 years separates the designs as they are prepared to work a special at Bath Road Shed. Coupled together, the two celebrities move off into Templemead Station to pick up their train. In 1965, number 123 was still at work, loping along Scottish lines with the Caledonian coaches, portraying the glorious blue livery of the Caledonian Railway in its proper setting. Here, an excursion from London's Victoria Station to the Bluebell line via Brighton in 1963 gives us a chance to compare a Drummond-inspired design of 1886 with his 440 T9 design of 1899 for the London South Western. As they back into the platform at Victoria, the elegance of both designs is apparent, despite Urie's modifications to the T9, including a stovepipe chimney. Number 123's whitewashed coal recalls royal train practice. The pair depart on the climb to Grosvenor Bridge. At Brighton, the pair use the coastline triangle for turning before going on to the shed for servicing. In contrast, a Class II 262 tanks design shows stark functionality. Bearing in mind that William Stroudley was Drummond's mentor and that he had served some time at Brighton Works, the visit was perhaps appropriate. As the two engines back down into Brighton Station to collect the train, pulling forward to gain the correct platform, Brighton Works itself comes into view. Heading up the Brighton line through the South Downs, the train pauses at Haywards Heath. At Copyhold Junction, the train takes the Halstead Quays branch, arriving in splendid sunshine under the admiring gaze of a crowd of enthusiasts and the watchful eye of a constable. Never before had a single strayed so far from its accustomed haunts.